Hey everyone, it's Anna. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. I was popping down to the garden today to do some chores and also gather some lettuce for dinner, and so I thought I'd give you a quick update. This is the raspberry and blackberry patch, and the blossoms on the raspberries are starting to come in, and the canes for next year are starting to shoot up, and it's getting crazy in there. There's all kinds of bees. They must have set some bees out at the farm across the road. Because we have lots and lots of bees, and everything's looking pretty good down there. The canes look really healthy. They've been loving all the rain that we've been getting, so I think we're going to have a really good berry season. The hops vine that you can see there on the right hand side, it's that chartreuse green colored vine. It's getting a little out of control, and I might have to get a little push mower in there and kind of trim back my walkway there just a bit, but it's getting a little out of control. Down in the garden, things are getting out of control as well. You can see the chamomile in this bed has completely taken over, so after I film this video I actually go in and trim some of that back so that there's more airflow for the plants that I have growing in there, and there's just not quite such a jungle of chamomile. And here is the look at some of the lettuce that we have growing. This stuff is amazing. After I took the video, I plucked off a bunch of those great big outside leaves and had those for dinner. The plants are just looking really good. They are just loving this spring weather we're having. We've had lots and lots of rain and cool temperatures, and so the garden's just really, really enjoying it. There you can see I use some garbage pails from the Dollar Tree, kind of as cloches in the garden, and those keep the birds from pulling up my new seedlings. They work really well. This is a beautiful lavender plant that I have planted down in the garden, and it just brings in the pollinators. And there's Oliver, of course, always the assistant. I have lots of pansies planted in the garden. Here is a look at some tomatoes and a fresh row of kale seeds that have come up, and lots and lots of volunteer sunflowers. Those are some onions there that I overwintered. They'll be going to seed, but I've just been using some of the green tops in salads. And then here's a look at some tomatoes, more volunteer sunflowers, and of course a row of pole beans that's planted on the trellis and will grow up and create a big archway in the garden. Oliver was doing some zoomies around the garden beds. He just has a ball down in the garden when we're down there. He enjoys pulling out my little garden label, the white labels that I put in the ground to mark where I've planted things. He likes to pull those out so you can see some of them on the ground, and such a knothead. But he also enjoys picking up sticks. So here you can see some of the back beds. They are very lush and growing really nicely. The herbs there in that center bed are growing in nicely. And more zoomies. He does like figure eights around some of the garden beds, so I don't know. In one of the beds there's actually lots of volunteer lettuce and even a volunteer strawberry plant and volunteer rhubarb. So that first bed there that's by the gate, it's a little chaotic, but I think it'll be fine. Here's a look at the spinach that we have planted. There's a nasturtium there that will grow up. There's some Swiss chard and more lettuce and just a few more onions that I put in this year. Lots of calendula and little things like that. Here is one of the Delicata Squash plants that I'm growing for this year. This one has reached the top of the cloche that I have over it, so I've swapped it out, the short one out that was on top of that plant, for a taller one there in the background that you can see. I actually move it over and swap those around. And then here you can see there's just a gob of little tomato starts that have come up. I had a tomato planted here last year, and there must have been a tomato that dropped down in the fall and overwintered, and all these little seedlings are sprouting up from that old tomato. So I just want to get those pulled out. I don't need that many tomatoes growing there, and they'll just continue to take nutrients away from the other plants. So I just like to pull those kinds of things out. Here I am picking out a few little weeds, and yeah, the garden's looking pretty good this year. I haven't been able to spend as much time out there as I would like, but it'll all be fine, I'm sure. And here again is Oliver. He found a stick that he can break apart, and so he's just enjoying that. But thanks for joining me in the garden. I hope you enjoyed this update. Bye.